Hello and welcome to Enjoy the Wonder. I'm Eunjee,
And I'm one Hee.
and we are so excited to have you guys along the journey of us just kind of exploring what this looks like in the year 2021. Um, but we go way back before 2021. Want to tell them how it started? How did we meet?
Let's see. The moment we first met was back in San Antonio, probably the year 2015, 2016, 2015, somewhere in there.
15,
And I was hosting a small group, and uh, there's a knock on the door, and I open the door, and here's this white dude and an Asian girl that I've never met before in my life at my door. And they said, "Oh, we heard there's a small group here today." And from what I remember, I think you guys were the first ones there too. And then we got around to introducing ourselves, and then you were like, "My name is Josephine or Eunjee." I forget how you introduced
Yeah.
yourself back then.
Say, my name is Josephine, but I go by Eunjee.
Yeah. And then Matt was like, "Oh, my name is Matt Koller." And then I was like, "Koller? I know Koller from back in Houston." And Koller's not a very common name, so I was like, "Oh, do you know Andrew Koller?" And so I found out that Andrew Koller, the guy I used to play flag football with back in Houston, is the older brother of Matt. And so I was like, "Oh, this is so weird. What a small world." And then we had small group, and then our friendship blossomed from there in good old San Antonio. Now
San
we are here
Antonio.
in Houston. Yeah.
I didn't know you played football with Andrew. I don't know if that's how you were connected.
Oh,
with
yeah.
him.
Well, I knew Andrew back when I was in college, and then there was the HCC like flag football league. And I somehow got myself signed up, but then didn't have a ride to the games. And so Andrew would take me from church
Oh wow.
to the field, and we would hang out and talk and stuff in the car, and then play flag football.
Wait,
and
that's
stuff.
so cute because the way our friendship also kind of grew more was also through flag football. So it's kind of like from one generation to the next generation.
The same generation.
You know? Anyways, but that's really cool. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
But tell them how we really met.
Well, okay, so we didn't really meet this very first time, but my first year in San Antonio, I was also invited to play in a flag football tournament for AKPC, maybe Austin Korean
Shout
Presbyterian
out
Church.
Lifeway, Crossroads, what?
And I didn't know anyone there, but my friend had a friend who went to that church and invited both of us, and then and we were playing a game, and I remember we were playing a game, and there was this girl who went for a long touchdown, and then as she was going for the ball, she fell over and tripped to the ground, and the next thing I know, she got really mad and angry. I was like, "Oh, I don't want to bother her." So and she was on the other team, so I was like, "Oh well, I hope she's okay." And then she just disappeared, and then like years later, well, not years later, like a year later, I found out that was Eunjee.
It was years later in my book, but it's also a great way to describe me for being clumsy and competitive all at the same time. But I actually hurt my knee and I couldn't play anymore, which is why I was mad because I drove all the way. So I had just graduated. So this was my first year back. I was visiting Rachel, just kind of like rekindling some friendships. And then I saw this little boy I'm sorry, that's mean. I saw this boy in this pink uniform and I was like, oh my gosh, the freshmen this year are so cute. I wish I was still in college and I wish I could be like their nunas. And then when I met Wani way later, I found out he was that pink freshman boy that I had seen on the field who I wanted to be the nuna of. And then how small is this world that I would meet him in San Antonio for about a month, thought his name was Juan because I actually saw him at church and he was serving there first. We saw them at church, right?
Wait, but this was a Korean church. There's like
No, I know. So I was like, wow, there's even a Juan. Yeah. So I was like really amazed. And then obviously later we found out how much more connected we are in different ways. And then it got to this point.
Yeah. Also, the uniforms are just a pink T-shirt, not like not like full on uniform, you know. So, but yeah, it is a small world. Crazy how things just align like that.
Yeah. So speaking of alignment, right? What are some other things that kind of connect you and I together, Juan and I? Um, I think we both have a heart for education and for the youth, and we both actually served in Teach for America. I did Teach for America in Dallas, 2013 core member, and then Wani was actually in San Antonio because he was serving San Antonio for 2 years with the students in that district. So that was kind of a cool connection point when we first met. What else?
Other like we're both Korean American. We both really like board games and sports and all these things. And I think we are also really passionate about equity and like what that looks like in terms of our faith and our walk with God, right? I think there's a lot of times when this conversation kind of is difficult to have. I think especially in like Asian American communities where how do we talk about faith? How do we talk about equity? How do we talk about race and all these things in one conversation, right? Sometimes to me, I think it feels like all very separate conversations. And I think it's hard to process things differently when we have so many different identities, but like, how does this all play into our identity as like sons and daughters of God, right? And so I think that was a big common factor that I think we both had and have had conversations about. And I think is actually one of the big reasons why we wanted to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am totally on the same boat.
I would hope we are on the same page about that.
So Wani, what made you say yes to wanting to do this podcast together?
I think there's a few reasons. I think a big one is we've kind of had these conversations before, but I think it'd be interesting for us to like have these conversations and then share it out and see what people's thoughts are, you know, because I think sometimes it's hard to bring up these conversations in organic ways or in natural conversation. So I think that's a reason why. I think another reason was despite like a lot of the similarities that we have, we also have like a lot of differences. And so I thought it'd be super interesting to see like, oh, what is Eunjee's take on this and this and this, right? So like, obviously like I'm a guy, you're not a guy.
Oh yeah, not a guy.
I'm single, you're married, I don't have kids, you have kids, and
you have Watson.
I have Watson, my dog. Yeah, and so it's just like different life stages. Yeah, West Coast, South.
Oldest, you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest,
I'm the
you're the youngest. Yeah, so just a lot of like similarities, but also differences in I think how we view the world and see life. And so I thought that would be like a really good conversation to be able to like talk and figure out, you know, and come to, I don't know, just come to like, if we have disagreements, like figure out where that common ground is or like where we come from in things. And so I thought that'd be super interesting. Yeah.
So then if I could dig deeper, what would you hope or wish to see kind of through this, like not just like the beginning, but like what are some hopes and aspirations that you have for this podcast?
Oh, wow. Hopes and aspirations. I think one is something, so that thing I mentioned earlier about hopefully this generates some kind of conversation, right? And I think probably the only people who would really listen to this podcast until we hit it really big are like the people that are close to us. And so as a way of generating those conversations, and I think also one thing I've been learning about myself is that I process as I talk, but I don't talk that much about stuff like this. And so another way is just like having this place where I'm supposed to talk, right? And I have to talk about like what I think or feel or my opinions on stuff. And so I think just digging deeper in that way and allowing this to be a place to do that, I think is something that I hope and aspire to have through this podcast. And and then to like create something, you know, I think that'd be fun too. So
yeah, definitely. I think if people know me, they know I love deep talk. I love to kind of just share the intimate things in life together. But something I do appreciate about Wani since San Antonio was that like for some reason when I'm close to people, I'm not very good at asking like good questions besides just like that's deep talk, you know, like let's talk about our feelings, right? But then the best thing was whenever I would be dating Matt or then also be still married to Matt, right? One would just always ask Matt questions that helped me learn more about Matt too. So like sometimes I would look forward to Juan coming over for our what is it called, third wheel dates. And then he would just ask Matt a question about work or residency or med school. And then Matt would just share all these long answers. And I'm like, Matt, I didn't even know you could talk that much, you know? And so I really appreciate the wonder that Juan carries that allows, you know, for things like this to just come out. And so I'm excited for this podcast as well, to have conversations where it's not just, oh, let's talk about this or this, but it can lead to that unknown place. So I think Juan, he brings that wonder, and then Eunjee can also bring some enjoyment to this space. And obviously we bring the other as well, but you know, just giving you some of our character and identity through name and the strength we both have as we come together. I oftentimes try to explain my jokes, so here is the first time I'm doing that on here.
Yeah. And she always laughs as she's explaining it, and so that just makes it harder to understand sometimes what she's laughing about.
Yeah.
But it's okay, you know, that's part of the joy.
Yes.
Part of the
Yeah.
joy.
The joy. The joy. Okay. So we actually have some guests already, and we hope that we'll continue to have guests. But our first guests on our podcast are our counterparts.
Oh goodness. Okay.
Mine is Matt Koller, my husband. Hey boo. The first time I've ever called you that. And whose is your counterpart, Wani?
Just like to confirm that this person is not my counterpart. He just happens to be here. We happen to be in the same house church. We used to live in the same apartment together as roommates, but
that's a lot of things.
But David is here. David Lee.
David Lee.
Our sound engineer.
Sound engineer, David Lee, and husband / fangirl, Matt Koller. Dr. Matt Koller. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Enjoy the Wonder.
Welcome.
How are you guys feeling?
Great. Okay. Glad to be here. Kind of sad one doesn't feel the same way, but it is what it is.
Well, I think it's only fitting that our counterparts are here to kind of introduce us on our first episode. And so we have maybe a couple questions for you guys. Take it away, Wani.
Well, really, the only question we have is, what are the 3 words that you would use to describe each one of us? So, 3 words to describe both Eunjee and myself. And you can explain why. You don't have to explain why if you don't want to, but it'd be interesting to know. I think David takes a little bit longer time to think about these things. So, Matt, we're going to let you go first.
Well, I would expect David to have this answer ready. I think him and Juan have shared more intimate experiences than Eunjee and I have so far in our respective relationships. But I can try and start. I think Eunjee is passionate. This podcast is a testament to that. Kind of a random thing that came to fruition because she wouldn't let it go, because she really wanted to share this vision with everyone. And get to see it lived out, her passion as a mother and a daughter and a sister and all these roles that she holds dear. So I think she's a very passionate person. She's also compassionate because she's kind, and the people that she loves, she is very for them and on their side. So those people can always know that someone's in their corner. Which is another really special trait. And then lastly, she is very emotive, you'd say. So someone who is highly driven by emotions. You can see that just layering, our daily arguments and fights that occur because something happens that triggers the emotion in her heart, but that also is seen in so many special ways, just how connected she gets with her students and her family, and just people that I think normal people would have more surface level relationships with. She has very strong ones, I think. Her students still like text and call her to this day from like 6 years ago, because I think there's this strong emotional bond. So yeah, it's really special. I think it's led to so many positive things in so many of her relationships. Some negative things in ours, but a net positive.
The truth comes out.
A net positive overall. So yeah, I think those are 3 ways to describe my wife.
Fine, David, go.
Oh, I was only thinking of one.
Time to put you on the spot.
Now he's back on.
Oh, I feel like what's normally on David's mind, so not much different.
You're so funny. I don't know. That sounds fake, but it's real.
Continue, David.
Actually don't know like 3 actual like words I can describe this with. But like for one, like just like I don't know, easy to like converse with. I think.
Should I look at you or not?
Don't have to. But yeah, it's like she mentioned like before, like she likes to like go deep. We haven't. I don't know. It's just like she's just someone that's easily approachable. Like whenever you want to like converse or like talk to her with. Another. She's very like initiative in a lot of things. So when it comes to like house church games or when there's like a fun activity like she wants to like try it out, she's always the first to like bring it up, but she's always so like very like into it too, which like yeah. It's really bad when I have to like think about things, but yeah, I guess that's also like the third thing is like she's also very like supportive like in whatever like you want to like pursue, or like she's like always there to like have your back, and then to always to like just be there for you, I guess. So
I'm crying.
Did you cry for mine?
Wow, thank you, David. Eunjee's crying.
Yeah.
My turn. All right, give it to me. I want to listen.
Make him cry.
That's not gonna happen.
I think for one, it's also weird calling him that. He's just Juan to me, and then he changed his persona here in Houston. His identity.
For another topic.
I would say he's very malleable, like socially. Like I think he can pull off being in like any social setting and thrive. So whatever the crowd is, whether it's like a sports crowd or a church crowd or like a party crowd or a board game kind of like chill nerdy crowd, I think Juan can fit in very well, which is difficult. It's I don't think there's too many people who can do that well. I'm probably another, but this is for Juan, so
I would agree. I agree.
Let's focus on him.
We'll find out. Matt and I are very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so I think it's nice because I think he's someone who can be present in kind of like any situation, and people will value having him there. I think he's also dependable, not in the way of like showing up on time or like or that kind of dependable, but dependable in a way of like when he is invested in something, like he's gonna be like fully invested. He won't let things he won't neglect things. He'll make sure things are done well and done right. And I mean, the most obvious example of this is just his roles in the church, and he puts all his time and effort into that when he's called to. But I think in general, when something kind of like catches his heart or his spirit, he's very dependable and like seeing that through in a really impressive way. And then lastly, I would say Juan. I think Juan is a good leader. Similarly to how he, I think, can thrive in any situation. I think once he's like comfortable there, he could also like lead any situation well. I think I've seen that more over time. That I think it's just like he intuitively kind of like trusts himself. I don't even know if he realizes it, but I think like when he speaks, it speaks with a lot of like confidence and just like when he says something, you like believe him, I guess. And I think that spills over into multiple areas of his life. So yeah, I think those are 3 great qualities for Won Hee.
Juan, he's crying.
I am not crying. Please. Wow. I wasn't expecting those answers, but I'm not crying. There are no tears in my eyes. Thank you, Matt.
All right, David. Blow him away with
I have really low expectations, so it's okay, David.
Yeah, usually the counterpart, doesn't feel as much as to that.
With Juan, although he doesn't feel the same way about me, but I would say like the first 2, like Matt said, is like definitely like the first 2 that came into my mind.
Not sure that counts.
It's,
Probably gotta come up with your own.
it's not, but it is true. Like once like you meet like new people, like it's easier. Not even new people, but like any like different types of group of people, you're easily able to like strike up a conversation and to like engage in that conversation, which is something that like I always like strive to like have that like kind of like attribute about myself. So I always like envy that kind of
I'm just crying again.
But yeah, I always envy like that kind of like thing, because like I'm so like with myself, I'm like pretty bad with my words, that you probably like noticed by now. But
I
yeah,
think you're doing great.
and then the second thing too, yeah, like you're very like dependable like with other people. Like you're whenever someone like needs like a ride, like per se, like you always take like Daniel home to like Katie, which is like 30 plus minutes like away from your home, like, and already coming from church, and then you're always like there for like other people as well. But yeah, like you're always able to sacrifice your own time for like other people. And then the last one is yeah, you're also just like really easy to like talk to, like very approachable to like other people.
Isn't this the same one as the first one?
Oh, is it?
He said strike a...
If you think it's different, it's different, but it sounds very familiar
I was
to
like-
the first one.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
I was gonna let it go, but if Lonnie brought it up, it was...
Because I was mostly like him like engaging like with other people.
Yeah, like
but,
in like making people
but
feel
this
belong.
is more like other people are like coming like to you.
Gotcha.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I guess it is the same way, but in different like directions, I guess.
Wow, that's so deep, David.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess.
Alright. Wow. Thanks, David.
Well, you guys should just always come up
Yeah,
here and
wait,
talk about.
I think they talked more than we have
know.
on this podcast so far, which I didn't intend for this to become.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Wani and Eunjee, but it's okay.
And I think it's always nice to get like a third party perspective, and in this case from our closest of closest, to just kind of help you guys get a perspective of who we are through the lens of not us. I think one thing that was cool that they shared was, we are both easy. We are both easy to talk to, right? And so I kind of like that. That is also a reason we like to have this space right here to just talk about things. And so we're excited about what that looks like in terms of different themes that have been on our hearts, and just what that could lead to in good conversation with one another, related to like a lot of things that Wonhee said about our identity, different seasons of life we've been in, things like love too, and Bachelor Nation might come up, who knows. But yeah, just all the different things that kind of connect us.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I feel like when we so surprise, we've had a few trial runs of this podcast so far. Don't know if I'm allowed to reveal industry secrets, but I think every time we've sat down and talked about this kind of stuff, because I think this is in the format that it is, it's forced me to be more vocal or drawn out different things that I was like, oh, I didn't know that was in there, or I hadn't thought about that before, or like I hadn't really spoken about that before. So I think I'm excited too to kind of see like what else is out there. Because I think one thing Eunjee is really good at is like drawing those things out of people. She just like sits there or like asks questions, and sometimes it's like you know. But I think that's a good thing, you know, because I'm not the type to like ask those questions, but I think this will be a good format to like go there, you know. So I'm also really excited.
Yep. Well, we want to keep our first episode just kind of short and sweet, sharing a little bit about who we are from people we care about as well. We're excited for what's to come. We hope that you will join us in this journey, even if we don't know what that might look like. We're excited that you're here for the ride. So we're just here, grateful that you're listening, and we invite you to enjoy the wonder. Wait, let's do it one more time. We invite you to enjoy the wonder. It was not harmonious. We'll get the harmony better next time. Wani's a little tone deaf.
What? I'm tone deaf?
Goodbye.